Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live with Roger Hanson. Today, we're going to dive into the ancient deities of what is known as the Canaanite culture and civilizations. We're going to find out first who Baal was, as well as the story behind Mot. Now, like I've said before, if you'd like to join this conversation, you're welcome. All you gotta do is click on the Jitsi link, which is provided for in my live stream with Roger Hanson on Rumble in the chat. I believe it's in the description too, not quite sure. But it's there in the chat too, so all you have to do is click on it and you come in. Hello, Karma. How are you doing?
I'm good. Let me put my headphones in because I'm out here in these streets and it's a little loud.
Okay, I finally I just went ahead and finished up the introduction and everything, so we're good to go.
Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and mute this loud for you.
Oh, we're good. It's already done. So we can get right into it.
Oh, okay.
I also want to mention too that we do have the links and everything available on Minds.com. Later on, everything will be posted on YouTube, Odyssey, and BitChute. Well, I don't know about BitChute, but I know Odyssey and YouTube, so let me...
Does BitChute publish it automatically, or do you have to do something special to get it to publish on BitChute?
Well, BitChute's been publishing my main YouTube channel, which I have branded accounts, and this goes on my Praetorian account on YouTube. So it doesn't do that. You got some weird noise going on.
That's what I was telling you. I'm about to mute. I'm out here in the streets. It's going to be loud. I'm just going to listen today. You can talk, and I'll chime in when I can. But I'm about to mute my phone for
It sounds really weird, like it's raining or something. It's like, but I figured we should start from the basics, from where we were, and start out with either Baal or Mot. I know that me and you were both fascinated with Mot. But I also think maybe we should cover Baal, kind of go through some stuff, see if anything stands out this time, and then go right into Mot, because just so we have everything covered.
Yeah, and I feel like we read something that Mot and Baal might be somewhat similar to each other. Like, yeah, I remember reading that a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm. I think they battled one another, didn't they?
Oh, see, I don't remember that much. It might have been, but I just know we were already studying Baal, and then it's like they're like the same deity to the extent. They're like the same deity to the extent because they both deal with the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I'll go ahead and start the reading. I got this off of Wikipedia. Usually I don't use Wikipedia, but a lot of the people that we've been talking to use it. They're real popular on it. And I'm not really impressed in the last few years about Encyclopedia Britannica after some of the stuff I've read on there lately, so I'm okay with it. So here it goes. Baal was a title and honorific meaning owner, lord in the Northwest Semitic languages spoken in the Levant during antiquity. From its use among people, it came to be applied to gods. Scholars previously associate the theonym with solar cults and with a variety of unrelated patron deities, but inscriptions have shown that the name Baal was particularly associated with the storm and fertility god Hadad. and his local manifestations. The Hebrew Bible includes use of the term in reference to various Levantine deities, often with application towards Hadad, who was decreed as a false god. That use was taken over into Christianity and Islam, sometimes under the form of Beelzebub or in demonology. Now see, Beelzebub is what Karma was talking about the other day. We were getting into a conversation about Beelzebub. And I remember hearing it and we went through this, but that is one of the higher demons within the hierarchy of the Christian pantheon when it comes to demons and the ones that Satan is supposed to control, I guess. But Hadad is
you said Satan is supposed to control?
Yeah, Beelzebub. Beelzebub is actually a demon. He's not really Satan himself. Like Satan has like a group of demons that are like his chain of command. So
yeah.
That's what Hadad was turned into by Christianity and Islam. He was turned into Beelzebub in demonology. So
this is Canaanite history with Baal and Mot.
Yeah, and Baal is usually referred to as Hadad or Adad or Isker. And that's the
I remember that Hadad. We were reading about that last week. Yeah.
In Sumerian, he was the storm and rain god of the Canaanite and ancient Mesopotamian religions. He was attested in Abla as Hadad in c. 2500 BCE from the Levant. Hadad was introduced into Mesopotamia by the Amorites. So that is where I was talking about. It's interesting with the Amorites because I think eventually we need to go and discuss the Amorites and kind of get into Hadad right there and see where that goes with it, because I remember hearing stuff about the Amorites with Sumerian and Assyrian writings, so I think that would be something to revisit later on. And Beelzebub, I knew we talked about this somewhere before too, and it popped up again. At least we caught that, or I caught that, I don't know. And here is a picture of Baal, Beelzebub, the evil demon that's out there haunt you. Does he look tough to you, Karma?
Hold on, I'm looking. I'm about to look now. I just had to put my phone out. It's in my pocket. I don't see him.
Yeah, I mean, switch
I just
him
see
over.
the chat.
Let me switch him over. That way you get a good look at this horrible, horrible monster. You see that horrible guy?
Oh my God. Chills on my spine.
He's just a horrible guy, ain't he? Just look at that demon. He's out to do horrible things to you. That Canaanite god. So this one is Baal with raised arms. This is 14th through the 12th century BC, found at ancient Ugarit. That's Ras Shamra site, a city at the far north of the Phoenician coast, Lavry, Paris. Okay. I'm going to back out of those so that we can get into the etymology. Now, the spelling of the English term Baal derives from the Greek Baal, which appears in the New Testament and Septuagint. and from its Latinized form Baal, which appears in the Vulgate. These forms in turn derive from the vowel-less Northwest Semitic form BL, Phoenician and Punic, and some weird symbols. The Reformation to denote any idols, icons of the saints or the Catholic Church generally. In such contexts, it follows the anglicized pronunciation and usually omits any mark between its two A's. In close transliteration of the Semitic name, the Ayin is represented as Baal. An Ayin is the 16th letter of the Semitic script, including Phoenician Ayin O, Hebrew Ayin. I shouldn't say these because these are like symbols and not anything.
Actual words.
Yeah, I'm following through, so at least people can see the symbols, and I put it on widescreen with the stream, so it's easier to see. So it's represented as Baal. In the Northwest Semitic languages, Ugaritic, Phoenician Hebrew, Amorite, and Aramaic, the word Baal signifies owner, and by extension, Lord, a master or husband. Cognates include the Akkadian Belu, Amharic Baal, and Arabic Baal. Baal, B-A-A-L, right here. And
yeah, I thought that was the standard spelling. There's more than one. I didn't know.
Well, most of them look the same. They just have different punctuations, really. Like here, it's just B-A-A-L, no punctuation. Then over here, you've got the punctuation above the first A. And then down here, you got the punctuation in the middle of them. It's basically
B-E-L-U, I see all that.
Yeah. Seems more important for where the punctuations are in these kind of pronunciations, but they're basically the same name.
Which is crazy, because if you think about it, it make it seem like it's so separate, but that's that whole separate but equal thing, where everything is connected, but we like to make it seem like it came from this religion or this religion. It's like they all came from the same starting point.
Mm-hmm. And then they say Baal, which is B-A punctuation, and then the L still serves as the word for husband. In modern Hebrew and Arabic, for husband in modern Hebrew and Arabic respectively. They also appear in some contexts concerning the ownership of things or possession of traits. Now, this is what I was talking about. Like, there's the masculine form and the feminine form, okay? And you can tell the difference in this time period and before, because it went from the feminine form to the masculine form, and you can see it in a lot of the writings. So, but let me go ahead and read this. The feminine form is Ba'alah, Hebrew, Arabic, meaning mistress in the sense of a female owner or lady of the house, and still serving as a rare word for wife. Suggestions in early modern scholarship also included comparisons with the Celtic god Belinus. However, this is now widely rejected by contemporary scholars, and Belinus is an ancient Celtic healing god. The cult of Belinus stretched from the Italian peninsula to the British Islands, with a main sanctuary a sanctuary located at Aquileia in the Adriatic coast, or on the Adriatic coast. Through Interpretatio Romana, Belanus was often identified with Apollo, although his cult seems to have preserved a... Yeah, I'd have to click on that. But yeah, that's interesting. But it was rejected by the scholars. We could go over that later on and see what that's all about. That's actually pretty interesting. Sound like a plan?
Indeed, it does.
Alright. In the Semitic religion, it says see also religions of the ancient Near East, ancient Semitic religion, Canaanite religion, and Punic religion. Generic, see also Bel, Zeus, Belos, and other figures named Belus. Now Bel right here is actually that's actually Babylonian, that's not Sumerian. So Mesopotamia, at least they're saying it's just Mesopotamia. But here they're saying Akkad, Assyria, and well, yeah, okay, as long as they're not mentioning Babylonia. Akkad is kind of stretching it though, because the Akkadians didn't call him Bel. So,
what did they call him?
Bel, I believe, is it's either, I think it's Enlil or it's Anu. So.
I feel like, yeah, and I knew, no, that's, what's the name for father or dad?
That's Anana.
Anana, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Anana. Or Nana. Anana is Ishtar. Nana is her father.
And Ishtar is Isis, and Isis can be sometimes correlated as the mother of Jesus in some stories.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, like in Sumerian, the Akkadian Balu, in Northwest Semitic Baal, as well as its feminine form Baal-la, was used as a title of various deities. Now, In is what I was telling you about, it means Lord. Len is the Sumerian cuneiform for Lord or priest. Originally, it seemed to have been used to designate a high priest or priestess of the Sumerian city-state's patron deity, a position that entailed political power as well. It may also have been the original title of the ruler of Uruk, and see Lagal. Now Lagal is Sumerian, and we'll come back to that later on. We're trying to focus on the Canaanites. Let's see. Now, like in the Sumerian, the Akkadian Baal, and the Northwest Semitic Baal, as well as the feminine Baal, was used as title for deities in Mesopotamia and Semitic pantheons. Only a definitive article, genitive, or epithet or context could establish which particular god was meant. Baal was also used as a proper name for the third millennium, by the third millennium BCE. This is for Hadad. When he appears in a list of deities at Abu Salabik, most modern scholarships asserts that this Baal, usually distinguished as the Lord Ha-Baal, was identical with the storm and fertility god Hadad. It also appears in the form of Baal Hadu. Scholars propose that as the cult of Hadad increased in importance, his true name came to be seen as too holy for any but the high priest to speak aloud, an alias and the alias Lord Baal was used instead, as Bel was used for Marduk. And now, see, I don't believe they got that right, because Marduk and Bel were two separate deities. Instead of Bel was used for Marduk among the Babylonians, and Adonai for Yahweh among the Israelites. Yeah, Bel and Marduk were two different deities altogether. So, Bel is actually Enlil, which is Lord of the Sky. And that is where Bel comes from. It was changed from Enlil to Bel because the Babylonians thought of the old pantheon as nameless gods. So they dropped in stature, you know what I'm saying? So the Babylonians decided to name their gods, and that's when they came up with Marduk, who took the place of the nameless gods. So.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense then.
Yeah. And I've actually had to bring it up to people because you'll hear them like saturate these stories with names that should have been used for the Babylonians instead of the Sumerians, and then vice versa. And then the Assyrians too, they're different than the Babylonians. So you got three cultures that are just, their stories are getting saturated into one another, and there's a time period.
What's the major, like, why is it, like, to where you think they would be getting paths crossed? Like, is it because of them having some type of alternate connection? Or?
No, it's just a matter of time. Like, between Inanna and Ishtar, you're talking a good 2, maybe 3,000 years. You know what I mean? That's like us and the Roman Empire. You know what I mean? So, of course, names are going to change, and your beliefs in that deity is going to change over time. You know what I mean? So, I think that's really what it was. As time went by, the names changed, and the deity itself had changed too. You know. But you still have to make that distinction. This is Inanna. This is Ishtar. You know, two separate deities with the same name, because they did change from this point to this point. There were changes, you know, and the same goes with Bel and Enlil. You know, two completely different deities by the time the Babylonians came along. I mean, the Sumerians were long forgotten by the time the Babylonians came around, so they were still using their language for scholars and to write on tablets and stuff, but other than that, they didn't use the Sumerian language. It was all Semitic. So
it's a timeline that shows the actual differentiation as opposed to anything else. That's how you can tell it's different cultures. But at the same time, they used the wrong ones. They took different names to describe the wrong people.
It's really cool too when you can actually see a name and you can say, look, that's during that time period, and this is during this time period. You know, because before I couldn't do that stuff, but now I can tell just by the name of these deities what time period they were in. You know, I can also tell, okay, now they're talking about the Sumerians and they're saying Marduk, so I know that they're not being factual, because they're not actually doing the research and finding out Marduk had nothing to do with the Sumerians. You know, it's pretty cool is all I'm saying, that I can actually tell that now, because before, if I listen to people, I can get sucked into a lot of the historical inaccuracies and think that it's true. You know, I like that. So
That's why it's always important to do your own research, no matter what someone's telling you. That's
Hmm.
something I had to learn. Because people will misguide you on purpose. They got a song about it. They'll be like, fake friends write the wrong answers on the mirror for me. You saw Some Dog Millionaire before, right? And the dude was about to win. And the host of the show came in there and wrote the answer on the mirror. And it was the wrong answer. So he only had two left. He was down to 50-50, and it was like the answer was like B or D, and I think he wrote D or whatever the letter he wrote on the mirror was the wrong answer. And because the host and the guy that was in the chair was in the bathroom together, and he was just like make it easy and stuff. And he wrote the wrong answer in the mirror, and then the dude went back and he said the opposite of what he told him. He ended up winning the money. And so fake friends like the wrong answers on the mirror for me. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, a minority propo- a minority proposed that Baal was a native Canaanite deity whose cult was identified with or absorbed aspects of Adad. Regardless of their original relationship, by the first millennium BCE, the two were distinct. Hadad was worshipped by the Aramaeans and Baal by the Phoenicians and other Canaanites. The Phoenician Baal is generally identified as El. Now, that has a citation next to it, but I mean, Baal is Lord, so El is actually the same thing. El is the term that's used for Lord as well. Um, El is the Northwest Semitic word meaning God or deity. So yeah, Lord God. So maybe that would be it. Like, because that's kind of a good point. It, Baal is Lord, and El is God or deity, or referring to any one of multiple major ancient Near Eastern deities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Moors call themselves El and they. Like they usually they, like men can be they too, but for the most part, women are usually they and men are usually El for the Moors.
Hmm.
Religion. Well, it's not religion, it's called.
A rare form, Elah, represents the predicate form in Old Akkadian and in Amorite. The word is derived from the Proto Semitic Il, meaning God. It's interesting. Now, Baal is well attested in surviving inscriptions and was popular in theophoric names throughout the Levant, but he is usually mentioned along with other gods, his own field of action being seldom defined. Nevertheless, Ugarit records show him as a weather god, with particular power over lightning, wind, rain, and fertility. The dry summers of the area were explained as Baal's time in the underworld, and his return in autumn was said to cause the storms which survived the land or revived the land. Thus, the worship of Baal in Canaan, where he eventually supplanted El as the leader of the gods and patron of kingship, was connected to the region's dependence on rainfall for its agriculture. Unlike Egypt and Mesopotamia, which focused on irrigation from their major rivers, anxiety about the availability of water for crops and trees increased the importance of his cult, which focused attention on his role as a rain god. He was also called upon during battle, showing that he was thought to intervene actively in the world of man. Unlike the more aloof El, the Lebanese city of Baalbek was named after Baal. in Baalbek is where they have those mysterious structures that a lot of ancient astronauts talk about, which I ain't gonna get into it too much. I'll just mention it, but they have huge concrete slabs that, according to folklore, giants place these slabs down in Baalbek, which is impossible for people during that time period to have done themselves, because there's no explanation for it. But
Hey, I gotta go. I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff right now. I'm getting really busy. But
alright,
I'll tune in tomorrow, okay?
okay.
Alright, have a good night.
So Baalbek is like I said, I don't want to get into the controversy and stuff like that. I mean, the conspiracy on my history stuff, but I just did want to mention that there is folklores about that, and it has a lot to do with Phoenician folklore. It goes back, way back. I mean, they talk about it all through history, about the giants and stuff like that. So that is pretty interesting. No matter how you look at it, it's pretty interesting. It fascinated people all this time, so it's something you should check out. Baalbek is an amazing story, no matter what you believe. Check it out. Okay, Baal of Ugarit was the epithet of Hadad, but as the time passed, the epithet became the god's name, while Hadad became the epithet. Baal was usually said to be the son of Dagon, but appears as one of the sons of El in Ugaritic sources. Both Baal and El were associated with the bull in Ugaritic texts, as it symbolized both strength and fertility. He held special enmity against snakes, both on their own and as representatives of Yamu, lit sea, the Canaanite sea god and river god. He fought the Tanananu, the twisted serpent, Lotan, the fugitive serpent, the biblical Leviathan, and the mighty one with 7 heads. Baal's conflict with Yamu is now generally regarded as the prototype of the vision recorded in the 7th chapter of the biblical book of Daniel. As vanquisher of the sea, Baal was regarded by the Canaanites and Phoenicians as the patron of sailors and seagoing merchants. As vanquisher of Mot, the Canaanite death god, he was known as Baal Rapi Uma, and regarded as the leader of the Raphaim, the ancestral spirits, particularly those of ruling dynasties. And there we get into Mot. From Canaanite worship of Baal Canaan, worship of Baal spread to Egypt in the Middle Kingdom and throughout the Mediterranean following the waves of Phoenician colonization in the early 1st millennium BCE. He was described with diverse epithets, and before Ugarit was rediscovered, it was supposed that these referred to distinct local gods. However, as explained by Day, the text at Ugarit revealed that they were considered local manifestations of this particular deity, analogous to the local manifestations of the Virgin Mary in the Roman Catholic Church. In those inscriptions, he is frequently described as victorious Baal, Alin or Alin Baal, mightiest one, Ali or Ali, or mightiest of the heroes, Eli Cordum, the powerful one, Dimern, DMRN, and in his role as patron of the city Baal of Ugarit, as Baal Zephron, Baal Sepunu. He was particularly associated with his palace atop Jebel Akra, the ancient Mount Sapanu in classical Mons Cassius. He is also mentioned as Winged Baal, Baal Knip, BLKNP, and Baal of the Arrows. Phoenician and Aramaic inscriptions describe Baal of the Mace, Bikrntrys, Baal of the Lebanon, but BLLBNN, Baal of Sidon, BLSDN, BLSMD, Baal of the Heavens, Baal Shamim or Shamayin, Baal Adur, BLDR, Baal Hammon, Baal HAMON, and BLMGNM. There we go. So we can get into a lot of this. There's a whole explanation on all of this. I don't want to get too far into it because there's a lot of religion here, and be honest, I don't want to cause any kind of friction among people, you know what I mean? If you're curious about what's being written here and you want to learn something, then give it a shot, you know. Dagon is another deity right here that is something that needs to be learned. Dagon or Dagan was a god worshipped in ancient Syria across the middle of the Euphrates, with primary temples located in Tutul and Turka. Through many attestations of his cult come from cities such as Mari and Imar as well. Alright, and at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over Ma'at, or Mot. Now Mot, God is the death god. Now Mot was a Canaanite god of death and the underworld. He was also known to the people of Ugarit and the Phoenicians, where Canaanite religion was widespread. The main source of information about Mot in Canaanite mythology comes from the text discovered in Ugarit, but he is also mentioned in the surviving fragments of Philo of Byblos, Greek translation. Byblos is Greek translation of the writings of the Phoenicians Sanchuniathon, which we've just done with the Phoenicians. So, form of the name. The Ugaritic myth, Mot, spelled MT, is the personification of death. The word belongs to a set of cognates meaning death or other Semitic. No, death in other Semitic and Afro-Asiatic languages. Arabic, Mawt, M-A-W-T. Hebrew, Mot, M-O-T, or Mavet, M-A-V-A-T. Ancient Hebrew, Muth, M-U-T-H, or Maveth, and Maweth. Maveth is M-A-V-E-T-H, and then Maweth is M-A-W-E-T-H. Maltese, Mut, Mewt, Syriac, Mauta, Ge'ez-Mot, or Ge'ez-Mot, that's G-E, punctuation, E-Z, and that's Mod. Canaanite, Egyptian, Berber, Aramaic, Nabatean, and Palmyrene is MWT. Jewish, Aramaic, Christian, Palestinian, Arabic, and Sumerian is MWT. Mandean, Muta, Akkadian, Mutu, Hausa, Mutuwa, and Angus, Mut. Akkadian is Mutu. So, the Akkadian is something that I really need to check out separate from the Sumerians too. It's something I need to dig deeper into. The Akkadians is an extinct East Semitic language that was spoken in ancient Mesopotamia from the 3rd millennia BC until its gradual replacement in common use of Old Aramaic among Assyrians and Babylonians from the 8th century BC. Okay. Religion and mythology. Ugaritic texts. The main source of the story of Mot's death is Ugaritic. He is a son of El, and according to instructions given by the god Hadad, Baal to his messengers, lives in a city named Himri or Mari. A pit is his throne, and filth is the land of his heritage. But Baal warns them that you not come near to divine death, lest he makes you like a lamb in his mouth, and you both be carried away like a kid in the breach of his windpipe. Now, a kid, a lot of people get that mixed up, but a kid is actually a baby sheep. So when you hear the word kid in these writings, you need to understand they're talking about baby lambs. They're not talking about like a literal kid in today's world. So that kind of gets a little mistaken. I learned that with the Sumerians. Kid was a common term for a lamb, a baby lamb. So let me move on. Hadad seems to be urging that Mot come to his feast and submit himself to Hadad. Death sends back a message that his appetite is that of lions in the wilderness, like the longing of dolphins in the sea, and he threatens to devour Baal himself. In a subsequent passage, Death seemingly makes good his threat, or at least is deceived into believing he has slain Baal. Numerous gaps in the text makes this portion of the tale obscure. The sun stops shining as its goddess Shamash joins Baal's sister Anat in burying him. Anat then comes upon Mot, seizing him, splitting him with a blade, winnowing him in a sieve, burning him in a fire, grinding him under a millstone, and throwing what remains in the end over a field of birds to devour. Baal's father, dreams that Baal is alive and sends Shamash to bring him back to life because the land had become dry. After 7 years, Death returns, seeking vengeance and demanding one of Baal's brothers to feed upon. A gap in the text is followed by Mot complaining that Baal has given Mot his own, that Baal has given Mot his own brothers to eat, the sons of his mother to consume. A single combat between the two breaks out until the sun goddess Shamash upbraids Mot, informing him that his own father El will turn against him and overturn his throne if he continues. Mot concedes and the conflict ends. Influence on the Passover. Few scholars have postulated the idea that the Jewish tradition of Passover may have begun as a ritual connected with the myth of Mot killing Baal, as Baal was the goddess of rain among the Canaanites and certain other Semitic nations. Modern scholars has disputed such views as a failure to take into account the original narrative and cultural context, pointing instead to a purposeful subversion of the Baal-Mot myth on the part of the authors of the Hebrew Bible, working in a framework of an audience who were well acquainted with the religious worldview of the surrounding nations. Phoenician sources. A Phoenician account survives in a paraphrase of the Greek author Philo of Byblos by Eusebius, who writes of a Phoenician historian named Sanchuniathon. In this account, Death is a son of El, counted as a god, as the text says in speaking of El or Kronos. I find that interesting too, that he brings Kronos into the deal. Phoenician is big on Kronos, and that eventually caught on with the Greeks too, so we discussed that in a few episodes back, so I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm just going to keep on going. But if you guys want to hear about that, I think it was about 3 or 4 episodes back that we were talking about it, so. Okay, and not long after, another of his sons by Rhea, and Rhea or Rhea is the mother goddess of ancient Greek religion and Greek mythology, the Titaness daughter of the earth goddess Gaia, and the sky god Uranus, himself a son of Gaia. She is the older sister of Kronos, who was also his consort and the mother of the 5 eldest. So there was a lot of incest going on within these pantheons, and that's something else I want to mention too. Like, you'll see a lot of intermingling when it comes to these deities. That's all the way from the Sumerians up to the Phoenicians into the Assyrians. They all had it in their writings. There's a lot of things that's going on in these writings that I'd like to get further into, so I did want to mention that, and you'll notice it if you start getting into reading all this stuff. So, and not long after, another of his sons by Rhea named Muth, having died, he deifies him, and the Phoenicians call him Thanatos, Death, and Pluto. So you have Thanatos, which is later called Pluto. In Greek mythology, Thanatos was the personification of death. He was a minor figure in Greek mythology, often referred to but rarely appearing in person. Alright, But in an earlier philosophical creation myth, Sanachuniathon refers to a great wind which merged with its parents, and that connection was called desire. Alright, and in ancient Greek religion and mythology, the Erotes are a collective of winged gods associated with love and sexual intercourse. They are part of Aphrodite's retinue. Erotus is the plural for Eros, who as a singular deity has more complex mythology. And Aphrodite is another story that's very interesting when it comes to Kronos and Aphrodite, and I believe Uranus was Kronos' father, and how Aphrodite was born is also one of those things that I do want to cover, because this is something you're not going to read in the filtered history lessons of school. So I want to get into that. It's pretty good stuff, to be honest with you. But okay, so from its connection, Mont was produced, which some say is mud, and others a pultrescence of watery compound. And out of this came every germ of creation and the generation of the universe. So there were certain animals which had no sensation, and out of them grew intelligent animals, and were called Zophasmin. This is observers of heaven, and they were formed like the shape of an egg. So Mont burst forth into light and sun and moon and stars in the great constellation. The form Mod here is not the same as Muth, which appears later. And in Hebrew scriptures, death, Maweth or Mavet with an H, is sometimes linguistically personified as Habakkuk, personified as in Habakkuk 2:5 and Job 18:13. So those are some pretty good reads. I believe that we do need to discuss Dagon next time, and Hadad, we pretty much went over him pretty good. Shepesh is the female deity of Shamash, I believe. Shapshu or Shapsh, and also Shamshu was a Canaanite sun goddess. She also served as the royal messenger of the high god El, her probable father. Her most common epithets in the Ugaritic corpus are NRT, ILM, SPS, RBT, SPS, and SPS LM. In the Pantheon list, KTU 1.118 and 1.148. So yeah. Now, Shamash is Enlil's son, I believe, too. So, En is Lord. Lil is Lord of the Sky, or Sky is Lil. So, you have El, right? And she was Yeah, he is the son of no. Yeah, Shamash was the Canaanite sun goddess. She has also served as the royal messenger of the high god El. El is God, but All is Lord. So it's interesting. We can get into all that too. Shapash. That goes into Shamash, which is oh man, I'm having a brain fart now. But he is the twin brother of Anu or Anana and Ishtar. So that's Shapash's another name for it. It's a sun deity. Shapash and Shamash. Shamash is the male version, Shapash is the female version. So I've babbled on long enough to where I can make it come up to an hour. I hope I haven't bored you guys too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I am going to post it in my live with Roger Hansen chat on Minds.com. Usually I put them in the chat here in Jitsi, but I'm not going to do that because when I close this, it'll disappear. So I will just share it with the community. If you guys want to come in and read these wiki links, you're more than welcome to. If you have comments, make some comments, man. You know, put your 2 cents in. That way we know what you think. Things like that. I'd love to hear more about what it is that you think about a lot of this stuff. So it's really good stuff in my opinion. I think that it is very educational, and you know, research things for yourself. Don't just go to school, get good grades, and then say it's over, because if you think like that, then you know you're not really living your life to the fullest potential. And that's just a view of somebody who had to learn that lesson the hard way. So thank you guys for watching, and I am going to go ahead and end this now. Appreciate it.